Hello everyone. In this lesson, I'm going to take you through some activities to work on with the text How Unique is Unique. In the agenda, we've got 4 basic steps. First, we're going to work with some vocabulary, more specifically words that are related to the topic that then will appear in the text. Then, we're going to build some background knowledge around that vocabulary to see how much you can predict or you know about the topic of the text. Then we're going to develop some activities that you will have to solve regarding the reading task. And finally, you will have 2 speaking tasks that you will have to record and send to me. All right? So let's get started. At the beginning of the unit, we have this quote. Life would be boring if we were all the same. What do you think this quote means? I would like you to take some seconds and give your answers to yourselves or aloud. So, now that you have taken some seconds to give your opinions about this quote, do you know people who enjoy being different? In what ways? I do know some people who enjoy being different. In fact, I think that I myself am one of those people. I enjoy being different. I think that being different is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Even when all throughout history we learn that all those who are different tend to be hunted or persecuted. But I quite enjoy being different. I don't know about you. Do you feel that you're different? This is a question that you could ask yourselves. And then we have another question. Give some examples of when fitting in or standing out can bring benefits. I don't know if you know what fitting in means. To fit in means to behave in the same way as the rest of the group. And to stand out means to, be different or have a characteristic that makes you different from the rest of the group. So let's see one example of when fitting in can bring benefits. What do you think one example of that is? Maybe when you start a new job or you start to go to a new school, you try to observe how people behave, so you behave the same way because you want to fit in. And then when does standing out bring benefits? I can think of one easy example, maybe on TV, reality shows. In general, those characters that stand out are the ones that catch the judge's attention, and so that is a benefit. All right. So now we're going to work with some vocabulary that will appear in the text, and this vocabulary will be the essence of the text. The text will develop ideas around this vocabulary. So first we have the word subculture, it's a noun. Then we have the word mainstream, which is an adjective. Then we have the word anti-establishment or anti-establishment, which is also an adjective. And we have word number 4, conventional, which is also an adjective. So do you know what these words mean? Let's have a look at some examples. Let's see the word subculture used in a sentence. An entire subculture grew up around female bodybuilding. Mainstream. The story was largely ignored by the mainstream press. They are anti-establishment and eccentric, with a willful disregard for convention. And I prefer a more conventional style of dress. So let's see if, together with your knowledge and the examples, you can do this quick matching activity. I've got 4 definitions there on top. So, which of these definitions could correspond to the word subculture? I'll give you a second to think about that. Yes, exactly. It's C, the way of life, customs, and ideas of a particular group of people within a society that are different from the rest of that society. Then we're going to see if you can think of examples of subculture. What about number 2? Which of these definitions could be the word mainstream? Be careful, because there are 2 definitions that are very, very similar. Yes, that's right, it's D. Considered normal and having or using ideas, beliefs, etc. that are accepted by most people. And the picture is meant to, in a way, show you what that means. Mainstream is a word that is very commonly used with the word press. What about anti-establishment? That's quite easy, I think. That's right, it's against the current authority. So the establishment is the current authority. And if you're anti-establishment, you're against that authority. And conventional is traditional and ordinary. One thing to remember maybe is that the word ordinary in English is not a negative word the same way as ordinary is considered a bit negative in Spanish. When you say that something is ordinary, you just mean common, traditional. Let's see these 4 words. We have word number 5, rebel as a verb. When the word is a noun, the stress changes and you say rebel. He's a rebel. But when it's a verb, you say rebel, rebel. We can also say about this word that when it's spelled with V, not with B, I don't know if you notice the difference in the audio, but R-E-V-E-L, it's revel, revel with V, what we call in Spanish B corta, right? When it's spelled like that, it means to behave in a crazy, happy way at a party, for example. Dancing and singing out loud and doing that. The word norm is word number 6 as a noun. Then 7, we have conformist or non-conformist, which is an adjective. And finally, for 8, we have fringe culture. Fringe culture and subculture are similar words. So let's see some examples. The people rebelled against the harsh new government. Let's see norm. 1 child per family is fast becoming the norm in some countries. Let's see 7. She was the conformist daughter while her sister was a rebel. And now we see the words conformist and rebel together to see how they work. Feminist fringe culture includes female empowering at sporting events. Let's do the same we did with the other 4 words. Let's see if you can match the word to its definition, considering now the information given by the examples. So, which of these could describe the word rebel as a verb? Yes, it's F, to refuse to obey rules or people in authority. What about 6, norm? That's right, it's H, an accepted standard or a way of behaving or doing things that most people agree with. What about 7? Yeah, perfect. It's behaving if we're talking about the word conformist, or not behaving if we're talking about the word non-conformist, or thinking like everyone else. And finally, fringe culture is any group on the edge or fringes of society, not part of mainstream culture. Now, let me tell you something about this, because when I tried to find clear examples of fringe culture to show you, basically the only example I could find online was feminism or feminist groups, which I found quite strange because if we take the definition, it means that being a feminist or feminism is not part of mainstream culture. So if we take the definition of mainstream, mainstream is what is accepted. So being a feminist would mean that you're not part of mainstream culture, which means that you're not fully accepted. So that's something to consider, okay, especially us women in this society. All right, now let's move on to the reading tasks. for the reading tasks, you're going to need pages 50 and 51 from the file on Unit 4 or from the books if you have it on paper. All right, let's go to the first activity on the page. It says work in pairs and discuss the questions. We're not going to work in pairs. We're just going to have a quick discussion here on the video. So what is a subculture? We saw that. Do you remember? That's right. It's like a group of people who share certain beliefs or interests, and those beliefs or interests are different from the larger group of society. How many of the subcultures in the pictures can you name, and what do you know about them? So we've got these pictures. How many subcultures can you name? Okay, the hippie culture, skaters, emos, or gothic people, and the first one would be hipsters. Okay, can you name any more subcultures? What is the most recent? What do you think? Any other subcultures that you know of? Rastafarians is another subculture that I can think of. Rappers, right? People that follow rap. Cosplay could be another one. That's quite recent, I think, at least in our country. Why do you think people become part of a subculture? How does society react to them and why? Maybe they're trying to fit in, right? Maybe they feel that they do not fit in anywhere, so they try to find a specific group where they can fit in. And how does society react to them? Sometimes society mocks that group, they leave them aside. And why? Why is that? I think it's fear. People are afraid of what's different, and instead of trying to understand it, comprehend it, learn from it, they just decide to reject it. I think that's my personal opinion, right? Let's move on. Read the comments which were written in response to an article about subculture. What do you think the original article mentioned? So on page 51, you've got a text, and that text is made up of 4 subtexts. Let's see if I can show you. This is it, okay? It looks prettier on the page. So how unique is unique? And you've got 4 comments of people reacting to an existing article. The idea is that you read that and answer this question. What do you think the original article mentioned? So for that, I will ask you to stop the video now and come back when you're ready to answer. Okay, let's see some answers of what the original article might have mentioned, and then you try to see if you thought something similar. So the article may have mentioned people in a subculture are trying to be different and rebel against society, and that idea is present in texts A and C. Subcultures are dangerous to society, that's present in text B. The very things that make subculture adherents unique often end up becoming popular, and that's in text D. So these are 3 things that could have been mentioned in the original article. Now let's move on to exercise 3. It says work in pairs and read the comments again. What do the different people think about these things? And we've got 4 topics. The principles of people who join subcultures, the article itself, the development of subcultures, and the reasons for society's reactions to subcultures. We are not going to check this activity now. This is just an extra activity for you to do and help you dig deeper in the text. As you know, the different units of this book have been designed to give you practice for the Cambridge Advanced English exam. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do one task that belongs to the reading paper of the advanced exam. First, we're going to read this exam tip. I'm just going to read it, all right? You follow me, and then we're going to do the reading task. It says, exam tip, cross-text multiple matching. You need to identify which writers have similar or different opinions on various issues. Sometimes there is a statement, almost like a fact, but it is not the opinion of the writer. Check where the idea comes from. The article maintains that blah blah blah. And note that opinions can be embedded or included and don't have to follow opinion phrases. I think, my view, etc. Read the questions and go through each section carefully. Find and highlight the references to the points raised in the questions. So the idea is that with each of the questions that you get, you scan the text and you find where in the comments that topic in the question is mentioned. And then you have where it says read question 1 from exercise 4 below, blah, blah, blah. That's a task that you can do to help you with this process. But we're not going to do it here now. We're going just to move on to the next task. If you want to do the task, press pause and then press play again to continue with the lesson. Now, this is the reading task per se. Read the comments again. For questions 1 to 4, choose from the comments A to D. Which person shares commenter B's ideas about the principles of the people who joined subcultures? Which person disagrees with commenter A's reaction to the article? Which person has the same view as commenter C about the progression of subcultures? And which person presents a different reason from the others for society's reaction to subcultures? What we can deduce from this task is that for number 1, the answer will not be B. You have to find someone else, A, C, or D, that shares the comments with B, right? The same happens with task 2. The answer will not be A. It will be either B, C, or D. The same happens with 3. The answer will not be C. It could be A, B, or D. So this is good because it discards one of the possibilities. And finally, number 4. Number 4 could be anyone, could be A, B, C, or D. All right? So what you have to do now is go back to the text, read it, and answer this question. So you had to pause now, do the reading task, and come back to the lesson. All right, now that you're back, let's have a look at these and let's check. So for number 1, which answer did you choose? Okay, it's A. It's A. What about 2? It's C. What about 3? It's D. And 4, it's B. Okay, I hope you did well. And if not, and if you have questions of why you chose something else, then you can ask me. Let's move on. Now, you have to work with some more vocabulary. But before you do this, let's do another task. Okay, so here we can see the text. And what I would like to do is to show you some interesting vocabulary that then you will need to complete the task that you saw just before this. So first, get my head round. When you try to get your head round something, what do you think that means? Yes, it means to try to understand that thing. So this is a very, very interesting phrase to replace the word understand. Then we can say that something is spot on. This article has got that spot on. Spot on means perfect, perfectly right, exactly right. That's what it means. Then disdain, the word disdain. You can have or feel disdain for something. What can disdain be? Yeah, disdain is a negative feeling, is that feeling of rejection, that feeling of not liking something or being upset by something or hating something. That's disdain. Then we have the word hatred. The word hatred is the noun for the verb to hate. Of course, the word to hate can also have as a noun the word hate. For example, there's a lot of hate going around. You can also have the word hater, and I'm sure you know the phrase haters gonna hate. But hatred is the accepted correct noun for the verb to hate. Then we have the word kaftans and beads, and I have two pictures there that may help you understand this better. Kaftans were these kinds of tunics that hippie people used to wear, and beads are those little round, in general, plastic things that you could use to make necklaces or earrings or decorate clothes, for example. You can use them for that. And then we have the phrase wound up. To be wound up about something is to be worried and sometimes angry about something. So if you get wound up with something, it gives you that feeling, that mixed feeling of worry and anger at the same time. Some of these phrases are the ones that you will need for the previous vocabulary activity. Not all of them. I just want to mention the ones that I find interesting, so I'm showing all of them to you. But some of these are the ones that you will need to complete the previous task. Then in text B, what we find as interesting is take the same stance as. What matters here is the word stance. Stance is like point of view or opinion, right? And if you take the same stance as something else, it means that you have the same opinion and you agree with that. It's to agree. Then we have the word comprising. When something comprises something else, it means that it includes it. It involves that. So that's comprising. And then to do something down. What do you think that could mean? Yeah, that's right. To do something down is to criticize something, right? Then in text C, there was nothing much to mention, so I'm just going to skip it, at least for me, right? This does not mean that some of the words that you need are not here, but I'm not going to mention anything from C. I'm going to pass on to D. We have the word purport. The article maintains that those subcultures that purport to be non-conformist, what does purport to be? It's to claim. So you can replace claim and purport, and that would be the same thing. Then I want to highlight unique and uniqueness. Unique is an adjective. And then what is uniqueness? Uniqueness is the noun, that's right. Remember that words in English that end in ness are nouns. So the noun for the adjective unique is uniqueness. Then we have the word wanes. As a subculture wanes, so the last diehards will move on. What could wane be? It's to decrease, that's right, decrease. Then we have the word diehards. A person who strongly opposes change. That's a diehard. Then we have the word ushering. The verb is to usher, right? It's in the progressive form here, which is to cause or mark the start of something new. So if you usher in a new youth culture, you cause or mark the start of that thing. All right, so now let's go back to the speaking task. Now you have to find words or phrases in the comments that mean the following. You have these, and you also have these. So you have 10. Some of these are the ones that I have just mentioned. Let's see how good your memory is, and let's see if you can find them. So now the idea is that you stop the video, you find the words, because the next time I speak, I'm just going to check. Okay, so let's check. Which one means understand in paragraph A? That's right, get my head round. Which one means exactly right? Spot on, very good. Consider unworthy? Disdain, yes, hate, consider unworthy, don't like. Position, which one means position? Stance, yes. I said before opinion, but your position as regards something, your opinion as regards something is your stance. The things that are normal? Norms. Okay, this is connected to the vocabulary we saw at the very beginning of this lesson. Let's see the following words. Which one was criticized? Do you remember? Could you find it? Yes, do them down. Claim in paragraph D. Purport. Those who refuse to change. Diehards. Yes. Lead in, help guide. Usher in. Very good. And finally, self-importance. Pretentiousness. Yes, and we have another noun that ends with ness. Pretentious is the adjective, by the way. Words that end in OUS in English are adjectives, and the pronunciation of that OUS is not O's, it's us. So dangerous, pretentious. It's not dangerous or pretentious, it's dangerous, pretentious. And in this case, pretentiousness. Two very, very weak syllables at the end of the words. Okay, let's continue. We have this task. It says, summarize each of these points in one sentence. People's different attitudes to subcultures, past subcultures, and the article itself. So the idea is that you go back a bit to the text, you work a bit more on it now that you know more vocabulary and that you solved some tasks. Maybe the opinions of the different people are clearer. The idea is that you summarize these 3 points. We're not going to check that now. This is for you to work on the text on your own. We're just going to move on to the next tasks. The next 2 tasks are the ones that you will have to hand in. Which comments do you most or least agree with and why? When we say comments, we mean the comments on the text, right? A, B, C, or D. Which comments do you most or least agree with and why? The idea is that you think about your answer, you record yourself. Please do not write the answer beforehand, just speak, just some spontaneous speaking. Record yourself answering this question individually, right? You on your own, you record the answer to this question. Which comments do you most or least agree with? And don't forget to say why. And finally, this one says work in pairs and discuss the questions. The idea is that you can, if possible, work in pairs. My suggestion, and I think that's the easiest way to do it, is for you to find someone in the group and communicate with that person through WhatsApp. So you send a WhatsApp message to someone answering question 1, and that person answers back, giving his or her opinion on 1 and saying if he or she agrees with you or not in some kind of discussion. And you do the same for number 2. Then what you can do is go to WhatsApp web version and download all the audios. You can download the audios onto your computer and attach them in the assignment. And if that's not possible for you, you can send them by email. But the idea is that you do communicate with someone to solve this. So let's have a look at the questions. Which trends or subcultures do you think your generation will be remembered for, and why? How important do you think it is for people to feel part of a group? So these are the 2 questions that I would like you to work on with someone else, all right? If you're having trouble finding someone to work with, you let me know, please. But the idea is that there is an exchange of opinion for number 1, and then another exchange of opinions for number 2, okay? So let's review the speaking tasks, speak up tasks 7 and 8, choose a partner, record yourselves answering the 2 questions. You can use WhatsApp. Then you can download the audios and upload the files to the assignment for this lesson. Okay? So that would be all. Thank you very much for your listening and your patience and everything else. I hope you feel better. I hope to see you soon. Bye.